What is it?
Oh, recording in progress. Excellent.
Recording in progress.
Yeah, you can
Alex
edit this.
Koseri. Hello. Long
Mick,
time
whatever
no
your last
see.
name is on the internet.
Solo.
Mick Solo
Because
is your pseudonym?
I'm a lone wolf. That's what my niece called me the other day for her 47-year-old uncle.
Nice. She was like,
Single
Uncle
uncle.
Mick,
Happily
you're a
divorced,
lone wolf.
childless uncle.
You're a predatory wolf.
Uh,
Okay, yeah, I suppose welcome
yeah.
to the Strength Club podcast. We have not done this in a while. We have a backlog of videos to go through. If this is your first time watching, it probably isn't. The people who watch the show have been watching the show for a while, but we've done a tremendous amount of work. We've probably done over 100 just form check videos, I feel like, Mick, right?
100? No, I
We have
reckon
like
we're easily on
200 some
500.
videos total.
It's like 500, I reckon.
Oh, I mean like streams.
Yeah. There's probably more than 200 streams, and I think we probably covered at least 5 form checks in each of those.
5 form checks, yeah. We've done a tremendous amount of form checks. Essentially, we get
Yeah.
user form checks, we go over them. We have a ton of good programming stuff, ton of good injury stuff. We've been through all the starting strength lifts. Go check out the YouTube channel. But today we're coming back from all of our usual hiatuses. And we have how many videos do we have to get through? 6 videos this time?
6. Yeah, about 6 videos.
We have
Yep.
6 videos to get through. And then there was 1 or 2 interesting things in the subreddits. One guy talking about a club foot. You don't run into people with club feet anymore.
Is he from like the third world? How do you get how do you even get a club foot? Are you just born with it?
That's the thing. Yeah, it's like it's very interesting. He said that he had a club foot operation as an infant. So normally they handle that stuff pretty early on, but he has one ankle that just sort of doesn't move.
Mhm.
Yes, so we'll talk about that. And there's one guy
Did
who
you
just
get a
has
pic of it?
no, I did not ask him for feet pics for this
Oh,
one,
okay.
sadly. You can you can email him.
Yeah, does he have an OnlyFans or something?
I think he's Italian. His name is Cabrascotti Campari, so he's probably an Italian man would sell that to you. And then there's another guy who just has possibly like the squat that starting strength mocks all the time, and how we assume people who aren't familiar with starting strength squat. There's a guy who's doing exactly that, which would be a good learning video.
Is he in a Smith machine as well?
No. He's wearing like running clothes, giant fluffy shoes. You'll see it. You'll see it. I'll share it. I'll share that video later. I'm really just
Oh.
send it to you now in the chat. But we have some videos to get through. So which one do you want to start
Yeah.
with? Do you want to start with the interesting
Let's
ones or what?
let's start with Luke Plunkett because he was one of the first ones that messaged me,
Okay.
and had a bunch of questions as well.
Okay, I have his questions here on one of my monitors. So Luke Plunkett, he's stuck at 403 pounds for 3x5 on the squat. He has just passed that by increasing the rest timers to 6 minutes. His other lifts are increasing nicely with very small increases each workout. He's taking 2 to 3 days between training. He has a stressful and demanding job, 4 young kids. Man,
This guy, like, he should write a motivation book.
good. 4 young
I
children,
mean,
stressful job. He could be a first responder or an essential
yeah,
worker,
I was thinking probably a cop or a
fireman,
fiery. Yeah,
right? Could be a doctor, a police
it's just
doctor.
he's got a face of a police officer, doesn't he?
No, he looks too kind. Okay, so that was rep 4. He has a lot of barbells in the background. So generally speaking, this is a pretty suboptimal angle for form checks. If you need to be really picky about where your depth is, this is a good angle for it. Otherwise, you're trying to look for like a 45-ish degree angle so we can see a few more things. The things that we're missing here, a lot of it's about upper back position. That's pretty critical. But from what and stance width, but what I can tell right now, the stance is slightly too wide and he's staying too vertical on the way up. Because we're trying to see these knees pop forward. Can you try to pause it right at the bottom, Mick? Right there. Yeah, so like the knee position is fine. The torso angle is a little bit vertical. He's slightly deeper than he needs to be, but then the knees are kicking forward just a tad too much. So he's like hitting this good bottom position and then everything's shooting forward. Generally, this can be mitigated by either thinking about the knees, so holding the knees back, or leaning over more. Sometimes people will do this because they just shift onto their toes completely. They'll be leaning over too much. That's not his situation at all. He's staying way too vertical. And then because of that, the knees are popping forward. You can play it again. Yeah, and then generally, if you see someone staying too vertical on the way down, they will be pretty reticent to drive their hips up out of the bottom. So for him, he's almost folding backwards with his chest. He's pulling his chest and the bar back to finish. That's generally indicative of he's not leaning over enough on the way down, so he can't really think about driving his hips up on the way up. They're kind of they really do go together. It's that shift. Do you see that shift, Mick? Do you see what I'm talking about on the way up?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's basically it's like the hips come up slightly out of the bottom, and then once he's maybe like 20-30% of the way, right there, now he lifts the chest up. Yeah. So he probably can feel his balance shifting backwards and forwards and things like that. But I would say widen the stance just a tad, lean over way more. He may be limited in leaning over from his upper back position. So without seeing the upper back position, it's kind of really hard to tell. Yeah, he gave us a bunch of, he's done a 1RM and a meet of 510, 319 bench, 507-pound deadlift. Damn. That's a rough fate. Your deadlift is like the same exact thing as your squat. I would like to see what his deadlift looks like. Okay, he said he's deadlifted 585 before. Okay, but in the meet, he's only deadlifted 507. Yeah, overall, that's Luke Plunkett. It's pretty good. He gave us a lot of details about his programming, and it's just all fives. It's literally all fives, Mick. Did you read that?
Sorry, what's fives?
Oh, in his email when he gave us a bunch of training, it's like everything is a 3x5 still.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
what do you think? Do you think he needs to?
The RDL is a 3x10, but everything else is fives. Everything else is fives. I would start putting in a little bit of a diversity of rep ranges there for you. Like if you're getting to the point where you're like micro loading a squat, so it's like, let's say he went from 400 pounds to 403 pounds. A 3-pound swing on 400 pounds is an incredibly small percentage shift. You know what I mean? Like if he was slightly more hydrated and had more food in his stomach when he was squatting 400 pounds, he may have weighed 3 more pounds, and then the squats would have been exactly the same. Like that's such a small increase that it's almost like fuzz. Like you can't really verify those things unless you're like hyper consistent on everything. So like if you're getting to the point, because I met a guy for an in-person a few weeks ago, and then he has been doing on his deadlift 1 pound increases. And he was like, well, I like it, because I know I can always do it. And it's like, damn, and then he's just been doing 1 pound increases like once a week. And he's like, that's still 52 pounds a year. And I'm like, I guess it is.
Is he using the exact same plates and the exact same bar each time?
It's a home gym. It's a home gym.
Okay. So, okay.
He's doing 1 pound increases, but I'm like, you're not going to get 1 pound every single time, And he's like, yeah, well, some weeks I kind of pull it back a little bit. It's odd.
Pull it back to what, half a pound?
Exactly. Yeah. What exactly is this? But yeah, so the micro loading on the bigger lifts, I kind of try to avoid it. It's easier to verify it in different ways. Or verify the strength increase with the micro loading, like the overhead press and the bench. Overhead press certainly needs micro loading. The bench sometimes needs it. All right, I think it should be good for Luke. We got Ender, Adam, Alonso, Carmen, and Hanna.
We'll do Ender next.
Okay. Ender said, I'm going through the setup, but it feels as if my lower back is carrying the load. I can point my chest up farther, but then I worry that I'm overextending my lower back. He said, parentheses, I'm very flexible, ... and skinny. Also, I have really long arms and forearms and big hands, and my hips feel really high. Ender, take a writing class. This paragraph was a little bit all over the place. Try to tighten up the writing. Do you see anything wrong with this deadlift, Mick?
I mean, it looks pretty good, I think. He's probably a little stiff-legged. Maybe the bar's a little bit close to his shins. That's probably what I'd say, but
all right, play it again.
Yeah, that's right. I'm doing that.
Yeah, that's all you this time.
Dude, my one job. Do your one job correctly.
Yeah. So I do a lot of online form checks for people. You can tell someone's how much they're overthinking based off the information they give you. Some people like Luke Plunkett, he gave us like his entire history. He was like, I met my wife when we were 18. He's like, I bought my first car. Like he gave us a tremendous amount of history. Ender seems to be really overthinking it. And you can tell that in the way that he was writing. This deadlift is for most purposes fine, But he is overthinking it. That's kind of the issue right here. If you can pause it when it's like halfway up his thigh, Mick, if you can. A little bit more right there. Yeah. So when you were saying it's a little bit stiff-legged, just leave it there. You see how his knees are still bent? His knees should have straightened earlier, right? He's doing a double knee bend, like a strongman hitch or a double knee bend, even on this relatively light weight. Presumably because he's thinking about pulling his chest up so much instead of just moving the bar. His lower back is fine. His biggest complaint is that he feels like his lower back is carrying the load, which is generally just indicative of someone who's brand new to deadlifting, doesn't have terribly strong lower back, and it's like, it feels like my lower back is doing a lot of the work. And it's like, my brother in Christ, yes, your lower back is doing a lot of the work. Like that's totally normal. That's not something you need to worry about. Like if it felt like his like shoulders were doing a lot of the work, we would be like, okay, that's a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Or if he was like, my jaw feels like it's straining incredibly hard during the deadlift, then we'd be like, all right, we need to investigate that further. But like people don't do this in other lifts. If you're benching and you're like, it feels like my pecs are doing so much work, everyone would cheer for you. We would be like, that's amazing. That's the best thing that can happen to you on the bench. But on the deadlift, people will be like, I feel like my lower back's doing all the work. And it's like, yes, that's totally fine. It's fighting to maintain the position. He doesn't need to squeeze his chest up anymore. In terms of actual technical advice outside of just getting out of your own head, think about pushing the floor away rather than pulling your chest up and back, right? So, you have your hands on the bar, your shoulders are set, drive your legs straight down into the ground, and that will generally produce a cleaner pull. When people are doing this, when they kind of double knee bend and they pull their chest up and back, he's thinking about back extension the entire time. Sometimes for these people, it's helped them to get out of their head. Just have them pull like 135 or something with like a slightly rounded back, and they'll be like, oh, okay, it's fine. I didn't die. But I think that should be it for Ender.
Endo.
Endo and for Ender. It was nice that he told me that he had big hands, though. He's like, I have.
That's a flex.
He's like, I have long arms and big hands, and it's like sick. Thank you, Ender.
Oh, I didn't get half guarded. Let me just download that one.
We have Adam, and then we have Alonso, and then Carmen and Hanna. Which one are you grabbing?
I can't see which one is. Well, let's just grab ProfCNile. That's Adam, is it? Yep. Okay.
Yeah, that's Adam.
Yeah.
Adam, ProfCNile says he is new to starting strength. He's never lifted before. He's 42, weighs 215. This is his third working set. At 180 pounds, he's resting 72 hours because between lifting days because he's old, and he's 42. How old are you, Mick?
Shut up. I'm shut up years old.
Easy. Yeah. So Adam, you do not need to be resting 72 hours between lifting because you're old.
Is that a giant cock he's got drawn on the wall? What actually is that?
No, that's a jump rope. That's just cock shaped.
Oh, right.
Do you see it?
Oh, I guess you can see what's on my mind.
Yeah. So
it's like a psychiatrist. Yeah.
The handles are pointed down here.
But you psychiatrist say, what does this image look like? It's like, it's always a penis.
Yeah, if you just go into your therapist's room and start pointing out penis-like objects, you're like, did you know that looks like a... All of your paintings in your lobby look like dicks. That's crazy. Yeah, I've never been to therapy, but if I did, that's what I would do. Okay, so in terms of this actual squat for Adam, slightly too narrow on the stance, I think. We're seeing a little bit of heels coming off the ground. I would widen the stance out just a tad, like half an inch on each side. I would tell him to push his pecs down between his knees. And then on the way up, Adam, just think your tailbone is the only thing that goes to the ceiling. Forget about the bar. Forget about your chest. Just think, where's my tailbone? Where's the ceiling? Connect those two dots. The upper back position is really good. Like, it is better than mine. Do you have any complaints about the squat, Mick?
No, pretty much what you said.
Yeah. And this still looks relatively easy. This still looks like you have 2 or 3 reps left in the tank. Yeah, so training frequency for beginners is kind of an interesting thing because it's like, is training 72 hours fine? Like if he was like, hey, I'm a firefighter and an ER doctor and I'm too busy, I can only train once every 72 hours, we would be like, yeah, that's fine. But in his case, he's saying he's only training 72 hours or every 3 days because he's old. That's total overkill. Like you don't need that at all. Like I have, mid 60-year-olds who are lifting 4 times a week and they're running on the other days, Yeah. I think I have like a 67-year-old. I think she's 67. I'll have to check in on how old she is. But I have a very old like triathlete who's like lifting 3 times a week and she's swimming on her off days and running and biking. Like you're fine. Okay, we have Mick. It says we're gonna get kicked out of here in 10 minutes, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I thought I upgraded this bloody thing though.
Oh my god, this bloody thing.
I thought I upgraded it.
Are the viewers just seeing a giant thing of your face looking very confused, or what are they seeing on
No,
there?
I mean, well, we're not streaming live at the moment, so no one's seeing
Yeah, but I
anything.
mean on the recording.
I don't know what they're seeing at the moment.
We'll
I have no
see.
idea.
To
I'm
the
trying to
viewer,
upgrade this thing while we're
we're
streaming.
sincerely sorry. Okay, I'm gonna pull up Alonso.
Yeah, you keep going. I'll upgrade this thing.
Luger H.
This is great. This is great podcasting.
Great podcasting. Okay, Mick, can you see this video that's going on here?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. This is only a 12-second video, so we'll see what happens here. Just a deadlift single? My man. Okay, so that was a deadlift single. He has a Toyota Camry. It's a new generation of Camry. He has an assault treadmill. He has some mats, so hopefully he's wrestling. That's an ab machine. Inspire. This is quite the home gym, man. Quite the home. This looks like a beautiful suburb. I wonder where this is. In terms of this deadlift single, to start, I wouldn't be deadlifting on your mats. Like it's not good for your mats and it's not good for the deadlift because your feet are wobbling around. So just move it off onto the concrete. You have a lot of concrete around you. Switch exactly where you're deadlifting at. The next thing, the hips are too low and the shins are too forward. So if I pause the video right here, we look at his shin angle. His shins are way too inclined. He's literally forward onto his toes. So if we remember our 5-step setup, let's approach the bar with shins 1 inch away, which is, you can just say like 2 fingers widths away, unless you have giant, sausage fingers. But 1 inch away, reach down and then grab the bar, drop your shins to the bar and squeeze your chest up. So he's done an approximation of this, but the thing where he went wrong was how close he was when he approached the bar. So he was probably, from his shins, he's probably, I would say almost 3 inches away from the bar if he were to be standing up normally. So if he just stood up, let go of the bar, we would probably see around a 3-inch gap between his shins and the barbell. We need to get that down to 1 inch. And then the bar will be over his midfoot and the hips will be higher. Try to pause it here. So this is when he's setting his back. So this is him setting his back, and then that's the pull. So like we didn't really see his back change shape almost at all. Whenever you are setting your hips, or to me setting your back, you want to think you're pushing your pecs up between your arms, you're pushing your belly down to the floor. We should see your spine change shape, especially if you're like a young normal guy. If you're like a 65-year-old meatball, it's going to be harder to produce like a shape change in your back. But it should go from like relatively like arched, and they're going to be relatively rounded, and then should get into this nice arched shape. If you see something like this, where the lifter just kind of like nothing happens, there's no change in his back, he's essentially just bracing his abs down, but he's not actually extending his back. This looked like he could do it for a set of 5, so there's no reason to just do this for a single. Yeah, that's 25 pounds. That's a 45. So 185, 205, 215. Yeah, if you're doing singles at 215, you're kind of losing the plot a little bit here. Oh yeah, so Alonso's he has a BJJ related. He was about to just read his email to everybody. He has a BJJ related email. So I believe he's a BJJ guy. But yeah, I would do 5s, 3s at the minimum. Singles aren't super productive for you. Let's see. Actually set your bag. Yeah, frankly, man, just go back through the whole 5-step setup, and that'll be a big help for you. We're back to Mick. Mick has successfully upgraded. Good job, Mick.
I have 2 jobs on this podcast. One is pressing play, and the other one is making sure that the recording doesn't stop. And I've succeeded in both. That was a good day.
He did.
Yeah. All right. Who's next?
We're on to Carmen. If you can pull up Carmen's, and I'll read Carmen's notes. Carmen, she said, "It is my 10th session. It got hard quick for me. I'm using the app, which is really easy to follow. Shout out to Mick for the app.
Hey.
I added the shout out part, not her. It has me doing sets of 3 for working sets, which I have heard Rip say on the podcast works for females. But when I posted to the Starting Strength group on Facebook, I got a lot of feedback saying I should be doing 5, so I'm confused. For the form check, the lower back is obviously rounding, so I'm thinking of lowering the weight until it gets better. All right, so we'll watch Carmen's deadlift. We'll see what's going on here. She's deadlifting basically the same that Alonso was deadlifting before. And then she has very similar problems to Ender, if we remember Ender. She is lifting her chest up a little bit too much rather than pushing the ground away. We'll see on this one.
She's also dropping her hips as well.
Yeah, so it's that sort of scooping motion. Yeah. So that was rep 3. Is she going to do 2 more here or what?
Yeah, still a bit of time left on this one.
Still a little bit of time. All right. She's doing double overhand too.
We have a whole video on lifting in Crocs, by the way.
We do, and Carmen. She's doing it. She's doing it. You know, I got a client from that. Shout out to John. He was the guy lifting in Crocs, and then I've been working with him for like almost 4 years now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is he still lifting in the Crocs, or is he?
No, sadly no. Yeah. So Carmen, we'll cover the easy fixes first. Switch to a mixed grip, get some chalk, or use straps. I don't think you're hook gripping. Like yeah, she's not hook gripping. Switch to a mixed grip. It's super simple. Just flip one of your hands, get some chalk. Having to stop just to wipe your hands off, it's really annoying. You don't want to have to do that in the middle of your set. And the next thing is that you're deadlifting really heavy and your deadlift is mostly fine. You want to start doing unbroken sets. So instead of like releasing your hands each time, moving all the oil and sweat around your hands, wiping them off, all that stuff, just keep your hands locked into the bar. And then that way you won't have to kind of pitter patter with your feet and get in and out of position. So those are the 2 simple things: unbroken sets, switch your grip, get some chalk. The third thing, I would move your heels in. So your feet are like just straight ahead like this, move them so they're tilted slightly outwards. So take your feet that are straight ahead, pull your heels in, and you'll be good. Inch on each side is really all you need there. The next thing, you're starting a little bit too lurched over the bar. If you pause the video right here, Mick. Damn, you missed it. Go back right there. So whenever people do these broken up sets, this is what will end up happening. They'll end up leaning really, really far past the bar. You only want the setup is a little bit tricky, so you really only want to have to do it once. And then play the video again, and then try to pause it as she's rocking backwards, or as soon as she rocks back, finishes it right there. Okay, so your arm angle needed to be more similar to this, but you had to rock backwards because you were out of position in the first place. So set up closer to the bar, keep your hips higher. Think about keeping your armpits right over the bar. I tell people just like right here, this point right there, keep your armpit directly over the bar. And then that's when you set your back. Okay, because you're essentially grooved into position at that point. One of the big reasons that she's doing, you can play the video again, Mick. One of the big reasons in this video she's doing that sort of rock forward is that she's starting too far away from the bar. She's leaning past the bar, and then she has to essentially kind of like pull back to some better position as she's actually starting to load her body. So just clean the setup. You know, it's not terribly dissimilar to Alonso's and Ender's. Frankly, it's a little bit of a combination between Ender and Alonso. But what you want to do, nail down the 5-step setup for the first rep, and then you're just iterating between the last 2, the 3 and 4 each time. So the shins need to get to the bar again, then you set your back, then you deadlift. You're just circling between those 2. The more chances you give yourself to screw up, the more you'll screw up. That's probably the big thing.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful.
The 3s and the 5s thing. So do 3s when you need to, right? So that set, were you watching that video, Mick? How attentively were you watching that?
Relatively.
Relatively? How many reps in reserve would you say that deadlift was for her?
3, 4.
Yeah. Like gun to her head, her children and her grandma are stuck under a car. How they were, they're in a hostage situation, and she's in a self-defense situation. She needs to deadlift to protect herself. Probably could get 3 or 4 reps.
This is like your fantasy, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, this is all starting strength fantasy. They're like, you need to save the president by deadlifting as precisely as possible. How many reps could you do? So once it starts getting to the point where the concentric portion, so the ascent of the deadlift is taking like 4 or 5 seconds, then it's like, all right, excuse me, it's very reasonable. That's 0 reps in reserve. She has nothing left in the tank. if a deadlift rep is taking a little bit under 2 seconds, the person still has a lot left in them. Like Mick was saying, 3 or 4 reps in reserve on like an average. If she just can't really try hard, maybe like 2 reps in reserve. There's no reason to cut that down to triples, because then you'll be doing like 3. You'll be doing the sets will be so far from failure. It'll be really hard. You'll have this period where you can kind of walk it up maybe another 10, 15 pounds, and then it will start getting hard. But you could just do more reps now, So I would say run 5s until 5s run out, and then you can run your 3s. But there's not a huge reason to run to 3s preemptively unless you just like it more. And you're like, counting to 5 fucking sucks. I only want to count to 3. Then I suppose, go for it. But if you are doing 3s, I would just immediately put another 10 pounds on, just so it kind of stays within that band of difficulty where we want it. If it's too hard, it's shitty for technique. You'll burn out too quickly. If it's too easy, you can get away with bad technique like you have been doing here. And then you're not getting a tremendous amount of value out of it, So we want to keep a pretty tight range of difficulty, and that's what we're looking for with the effort levels. So I'd say do 5s for a few more weeks, or a few more deadlift sessions. And then if it's really hard, it's like a deadlift descent's taking 3-4 seconds, then pull up down to sets of 3.
Wonderful.
Who are we going? Who are we on now? Oh, here we
This
go.
is Hanna. This is Hanna. Not much to unpack with this video.
To start, she's relatively lean and already pretty muscled for a girl. Yeah, this body fat percentage is not terribly common for women. Stance is too wide for sure. Lifting shoes would be helpful here. Yeah, so try to pause it as soon as her hips shift out of position, and then we see that really weird kind of clunking off to the side. Yeah. How does this look for you, Mick?
The lift?
Yeah. Well, take that.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, it looks extremely uncomfortable and awkward.
Okay, so it may not be uncomfortable. I don't want to, voodoo that into her brain and be like, you're gonna snap your shit up. It's very uncomfortable. And this is probably why she sent it to us at this angle of being like, hey, there's this incredibly weird asymmetry that's going on. Go back to the position when she's on the floor. And then play it a little bit. Yeah, so she's setting up pretty symmetrically. Okay, so like we can just see straight up and down her spine, and then try to just go like 5 frames, basically. She's going to clunk, her whole hips are going to shift to the left. Yeah. Yeah, that was exactly it. It played a little bit more. It's going to get even worse. Even more. Keep going. Right there. This is when it gets worse. So her head is tilting to the left, her shoulders are going to the right, and then her hips are going to the left. Yeah, so like Mick was saying, not terribly comfortable. There's a few things that we can do to correct this. First thing is get rid of the mirror in front of you because it's throwing off your head position. People they generally want to keep their face looking at their face, so they'll do weird things with it to make that happen. I would narrow the stance up and get some lifting shoes. Her feet are sort of collapsing and rolling into the middle. And then I would narrow the stance. So go back down to the next rep at the bottom. Yeah, just let it play. Right there. Yeah. So see how much her knees are already running into her arms? Do you see that, Mick?
Mm-hmm.
I know it's hard to focus, but try to bear with me. But yeah, so whenever
I'm 100% focused at the moment.
I'm alert right now. But yeah, so whenever the legs are running into the arms like this, it's going to cause problems with the grip. It's going to cause problems with the setup. It will generally throw people out of position. This is almost always from the stance being too wide or the grip being too narrow. If we had her grip move out, her arms would be too tilted because she's relatively narrow shouldered female. So we want to move the stance in instead. So like lifting shoes, move the stance in, and then the hips will probably have to pull up a little bit. That will solve most of the problems here, I think. And just play it through. Let's see how the rest of the reps look. And then this actually is pretty common. Like most people just don't watch people deadlift from like the ass angle. And then to see the hips shift off to the side. But I mean, like even for me, like my hips shift to the side a little bit. It's not the end of the world. But what is bad is, like right here, you see how she's pulling herself out of position. That is coming from the hips being too low in the first place. Okay. That is her kitchen, confirmed. Those are stools from like a countertop. Amazing.
Yes, and she does have weapons on the.
We'll get to them. We'll get to the weapons. We'll get to the weapons later, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think rep 2 is, or actually, excuse me, rep 3 is our best example of this. 2. Yeah, just play it through again. Essentially, we're going to see when the hips are too low, things are going to pop out of position. The reason that one of the reasons we advocate for the hip height is so that everything is basically as tight as you can get, so that this doesn't happen. This one is the one I would say is the most dramatic. So pause it right here, or no, pause it before she gets tight to the bar. Okay, so hips are too low. She's relatively forward. And then as soon as she's trying to get tight, the hips have to shoot up really dramatically. Just let it play normally. It's so hard to catch it at this point. Just let it play normally. The hips are too low, and then everything pops out of position because she's trying to get tight instantaneously, and then she's just kind of losing where everything is supposed to be. So set up closer to the bar, narrow the stance, get some lifting shoes, and then you'll avoid that pop out of position. As for the symmetry issue, that may take a while to work out. I would recommend seeking out some coaching. I'm not sure where this lady is from. Yeah, we should probably do follow-up emails with all these people anyways.
Yep. Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah. But yeah, so that one is a little bit more complicated for sure. That was the most complicated deadlift of the bunch, or the lift of the bunch, I would say. Let's see. I think that was everybody. We got Hanna, we got Carmen, we got Alonso, Adam, Ender.
Yeah, we got that Reddit one as well.
Ooh, yes, yeah. All right. So
I'll share that Reddit.
Yeah, I shared it to you in the chat.
Yeah, there we go.
In the Zoom chat.
Yep, I've got it.
There you go. I had the courtesy of muting when I cough.
Oh, I didn't know what to press. I was like, there's too many things going on at once. Let's see if I can share this.
Yeah, just to know, the default Zoom hotkey is Alt-A for muting.
I don't know what I'm about to share here. Just quietly.
It's weight moving forward and heels coming up, the Reddit link.
No, I know that, but I've got like 15 Safari things open.
Man, imagine using an Apple computer. Truly amazing.
I'm just going to pause the recording for 1 sec.
Recording on Zoom again. All right, I'm going to share. Let's see. The Reddit? No, here we go. All right, can you see this, Mick?
Yep.
Excellent. All right, we're going full screen. This is what I imagine your squats look like, Mick, by the way.
Hey, you used to be my coach, remember?
They looked way better when I was doing it. This is a European style squat. Yeah, so this has actually happened in a few of kind of recent clients that I've got. They have squatted outside of the safety bars, and they're like, "Oh, well, I thought if I was going to fail, I would just put it forward onto the safety bars." And it's like, "But you're behind them." So it's like, do you think you're going to be like, "Oh no, I can't do it anymore," and then walk forward or like lean forward?
Maybe thinks he can like throw it forward.
Yeah, he's like, "What if I just whoosh, just throw?" That's maybe what they think is going on here. But yeah, so this guy's having a bunch of technical problems on his squat. This is a really good illustration of what I think most squats looked like before, Instagram powerlifting culture really started to take hold, before Starting Strength did all the tremendous work that it's been doing. This is almost like a squat backwards in time to like 2005. I feel like everybody squatted like. But yeah, so whenever we talk about,
can I guess the top comments?
I didn't even look at the comments. I don't even want to. It's probably just a bunch of links to the how to squat video.
Yeah, it's read the book, noob.
Yeah, you're not doing the program.
Yeah,
things to that effect.
Might have been Domad, actually.
It could be as well. Let's see. I'm gonna press Alt A to mute myself. Okay.
Still heard it.
Did you hear that cough?
Still heard it.
Alt A didn't work. Dude, no.
That's karma.
Yeah. All right. So we have some guy. He's staying really vertical. His head is aimed straight ahead. His knees are sending forward. He's not hitting depth. He's like, man, why can't I hit depth? What's going on here? Yeah. So big things. Get some squat shoes. They fix a tremendous amount of problems. Just start there. The next thing is your face. I'm assuming he's also in a high bar position, so we'll go shoes first. We'll go bar position second. Look up where to put the bar for the squat. Nukto and Dio. It has an excellent video of Bree the camera is 2 inches away from our upper back, exactly where to put the bar. That's what you want to look for. So we'll get the shoes, we'll fix the bar position. The next thing is going to be fixing the gaze. Basically, look down right on the floor, 3 feet in front of you. It's a little bit closer than we recommend for most people, but just 3 feet in front of you. Aim your forehead down at that spot, not just your eyes. For people who like to squat this vertically, I'll tell them to aim the top of their head at that spot even. We just really need them looking down. And then after that, all of it is going to be leaning over, So it's like you're leaning over to squat, you're pushing your ass back. Don't even think about your knees. For one of my clients, I've actually just been telling him, don't let your knees move forward at all. Like, don't let any forward knee movement happen, because he kind of wants to squat like this a little naturally a little bit as well. Yeah, so this is almost like the anti-starting strength squat is what this is. I guess we'll see what the comments are. This is because you refuse to bend over instead of hyperextending your back, keeping your chest up. Refuses to. Look down, squeeze your abs, bend the fuck over, point your nipples to the floor. Stop trying to keep your back so vertical. Desperately need lifting shoes. I agree with everyone. Give this a try. Find a chair, box squats. Yeah, the advice on the starting strength Reddit has been getting better. Absolutely, for sure. People are starting to use cues now.
Pop an ass like you at the strip club.
Where did you see that?
Draw off a bit more.
Oh, here we go. Nice.
There you go.
Yeah, Hornet FN. Good work, buddy. Upvote for that. Give him an up, dude. But yes, yeah, this is the antithesis of the starting strength squat. One thing that's interesting is that I'm sure this fluctuation is somewhat normal. But like 20 minutes ago on the starting strength thread, it was like there was like 3 people online. Now there's 183. So hopefully there's going to be some more posts coming through here. And that was it. The other guy had a club foot, but he didn't post a video, so that's not going to be terribly informative. I think that should be it. Anything else you want to cover, Mick?
No, pretty much that's it. Where can people find you, Alex, if they want to ask some questions or get some coaching?
Links in the description. All of my in-person coaching is mostly with my guys who I do judo and wrestling and jiu-jitsu with. But if you need some one-off help in the kind of Northern Virginia, Maryland area, let me know and we'll find a place to get together. Yeah, I'm from DC, in-person coaching there. Otherwise, online coaching, I do a tremendous amount of that. Mick, do you want people to find you on the internet?
No, just download the app.
Just download the app, man. Download the app. It's a good app.
Download the app. Yeah.
Maybe the best app. People love that app.
The best starting strength app out there.
It is. Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
number one rated on the App Store.
Do you have that on the sales copy on the Google store?
I should. There's a photo of Rip on the front on the very first picture.
Okay, yeah, no, it should be the picture of Rip and then a quote saying the best starting strength app. But don't attribute it to Rip.
There are actually a couple of other starting strength apps out there.
Yeah, you can put the best starting strength app on there. I think that's pretty reasonable.
I think so. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. We're not sure if we're going to do the live ones anymore. It's just given the crossover of times and things, I don't think it's probably going to work. But yeah, we'll hopefully get one of these out every month and keep sending your form checks in. And if you got any questions as well, feel free to email me in the description.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. See you guys.
And that's it.